Hey everybody, Andy Waddell with Forum Films and welcome to Grade in 10. So today I want to walk you through my approach to tackle one of the biggest challenges we all face, grading the corporate interview in the corporate office with a ton of corporate mixed temperature lighting. Let's get started. Okay, here is the shot as we're going to land it, more or less. Let's look at where we took off from. Skadoosh. Okay, so what we've got happening here is we have a window behind the camera that's casting a very faint 5600, roughly K blue onto everything. And then we have these LEDs or some kind of corporate interior lighting that's putting a nice 3200 K back here in the back right. So we're going to balance all of that out. But before we do, I want to point out one thing I really love. The client did a great job capturing this because they put their key light frame right or his left. And they said, you know what? We don't have enough gear to control the window. We need light back here, but we don't have enough gear to light that. But we're going to make sure his skin tone looks right. And if everything in here is a little wonky in terms of the balance of the blues and the whites and the oranges and all that, his skin tone looks really good. And we don't have to do a lot to get it where we want to be. So great decision in that regard to give us a great starting point, because if nothing else, you want your talent to look right and the rest of the frame can fall away, worst case. Or best case, you're able to bring it all into balance. So let's dive in and just see what we can do. I'm going to start by killing our existing node tree. Boom. Okay, we have a denoising node doing just a little bit of work. This image is really clean coming off a Pocket 6K. But we will put a touch on there just for the deepest of deep blacks. Okay, let's go for exposure. We're going to crank our exposure up. If I would turn off bypass, that would help. Okay, I want to get this exposure up to where my highlights are somewhere in this zone, but now you can see that my red is below my green is below my blue, which is why his shirt is a little bluey. So we're going to follow this with primaries, and we're going to roll the offset just a touch to balance out the top end of our scopes. And audition it off on. That is doing the trick. Everything's already in a lot better balance just with that little adjustment. Speaking of adjustments, I'm going to throw an adjustment node. All we're going to do is come in here and kind of grab the red and the green, and I want to bring their shadows more in line with the blue. Okay, so dial that back just a little bit. Where I'm watching on the scopes is the area that's representing his shirt, and I'm just trying to play with kind of the balance of all the little pieces around it just to feel it out. So let's jump on and keep working. I'm going to make parallel here. I'm going to tackle his skin on one and his shirt specifically on another. We're going to grab some stuff with the 3D qualifier. So let's grab that 3D qualifier, shall we? And qualify some stuff. So we want to grab the shirt if we can without grabbing this wall behind him, because there is definitely some bluiness happening on some of the wall. Here we go, caught a little bit right there. So we're going to just try to cheat that so that we don't grab any of that. And then we're just going to denoise it, blur it out, clip it a little bit, clean up the white a touch. And the goal here, you can see in my selections, the blueness. So the goal here, I'm going to toggle this solo off. We're just going to desat this. Boom. Put it at 15% and it just pulls that blue out. Off on. Oh, I'm sorry. I just did his shirt. I got this backwards. My bad. All right. Rename that. I'm not going to stop the recording. Just for a wee little mistake. Okay. I usually do skin on top first, but I got ahead of myself. Let's jump to his skin tone. let's just do a sample. This is so trial and error. You're obviously trying to grab everything but the orangey background, and just due to the nature of this shot, there is plenty to bleed and grab. So this is pure trial and error. Okay, that's not bad because I don't have too much of this fluffy. This stuff over here I'm not worried about. I don't want too much of that around here, as I want to... Oops, grab the wrong thing. As I want to mask him off anyway, because he is not going to move around a lot. So we'll be able to mask his noggin. Like that. While we've got him soloed, let's grab the color compressor. I want to just work on his skin tone. Oops, I see what I did. I put it on the shirt. I want to put it on his skin tone, and I want to tighten up the hue in his skin. I'm liking that tone for him. That looks good. I'm just going to tighten it up. A little saturation. We're going to flip to vector, and we're going to roll our offset ever so slightly just to pull it to that line a little bit, and I'm going to punch a little more saturation in his skin. So let's toggle that off. Okay, now let's audition this. So off, on, off, on. Yeah, I like what it does. Ooh, we're getting a little bit of his hair in there. Let's see if we can kill that. This goes back to the trial and error part. Oops, too much. A little bit better. Missing a little bit of essentially what's this 5 o'clock shadow right here, but I also don't really care because 5 o'clock shadows typically look a little different. Let's jump forward. Let's deal with this room. We're just gonna call this room. I'm gonna drop a mask because again, he's not moving around. He's not gonna dance or do anything in terms of large movements in this interview. So we're gonna tighten this mask down to crop the door. Now, what I want to do is just take a broad sweep with the white balance tool. And I want to say, look, I think these panels and this sky, this ceiling up here are the same general tone as all of this around here. So I just want to see if I can swing the white balance and do something to get me in a little healthier place to start. So I'm going to explore that. I don't always use this tool like that. It can be a little extreme, and I don't know that it's my favorite way, but in this case, I just want to try it and see what I get. Like, that feels way too extreme. I actually like what happens when I just say, when I just say, gotta reset that because I forgot to grab the right tool. When I just tell this to be white, I actually like what that does. That feels very natural. My wood tone back here is still there. This feels like it's a little bit of a tan that's maybe a little different, but my ceiling's starting to match up here. Now I'm going to come in here and try sampling all of this. And blur it up. Unsolo it, and I'm going to just play with desatting it. 25. Nope, too much. 35. Pulling it back a little bit. You can see the reflection right there was catching. Sounds a little better. Just need to clean up the desk a little bit. Make sure that wood is not being grabbed. I'm going to bring it back up to about 27 and a half. And then what's happening up here is interesting. Oops. It's hard to do. Sorry, it's hard to do soloed. Okay. There we go. I don't mind that blue. I'm going to do something with some vignette in a minute, so I might just leave that where it's at. Put that back down. Okay, now I'm going to jump to my curves, and I'm actually going to brighten this room up, make it feel a little bit more intentional. And then at the same time, I'm going to drop a Gaussian blur on it, and I'm going to pull it about about 25%, and just let it kind of fall off a little bit more than it does in lens. Okay, so liking where we're heading. We can keep playing with this, but it feels like it's becoming more unified. I'm going to jump to the end real quick and drop sharpening on it. I can't even spell sharp. That's amazing. Just going to do a little bit, 0.48. Then in front of that, I'm going to put vignette. Don't always use vignettes. I think they can be very overused, but we're going to use one in this case. I'm going to make a lab node. I'm going to put this node in the lab CIE color space. And what I'm going to do, it's going to separate the warmer tones and the shadows from the cooler tones. And in my vernacular, it's going to tighten up my low end. So I'm just going to roll shadows down. About 4 something, negative 4 something. Maybe negative 3.75. Negative 4. Okay, I'm going to also come back to his skin tone. Because I've got his skin tone isolated, I'm actually just going to increase the low mid or high mid low highs right here. Just give his skin a little bit of a pop. Bring him out a little bit more. And hit save. Okay. Let's play with our vignette for a second. Too much, maybe a little bit too much. Can I have a little less vignette, please? All right, I'm going to shape this to 1.5, make it a little rounder, and then I'm going to punch it up toward his face and pull it a little bit off here. And then what I'm going to do is scale it all the way up, soften it out, and then I'm going to blend it to probably about 75%. And then I'm going to toggle this on and off so we can appreciate it. Off, on. Off, on. I like what it's doing shaping this room. I like what it's doing over here. We have this kind of dead part of the couch here. This is pushing my eye closer to him. I'm going to pull it over a little more to his shoulder. Off, on. And I'm going to pull it up a little more. Make sure his face is not catching any of that. Yeah, I'm kind of digging that. Kind of digging it. Okay, so you know something else we could do fun if we wanted to in here. Can also just crush this a little so that we have a little more contrast in the deeper corner of that room. So you have a little more contrast here to here. Makes it have a little more shape than before, so it gives it a sense of purpose in a way. Okay, so wow, feeling pretty good about that. Let's walk it through. I'll leave denoise on because it's kind of inconsequential. So here's our starting point. Cranking up exposure to get it where we want. Primaries, slide everything just a little to the left to get the shirt white and not super light blue. Adjustments, I'm pulling down. I know it looks like it's putting more blue in, but I'm really just trying to even out some of my shadow down here. And I'm liking what it's doing, even though it is affecting my shirt a little bit. I'm liking what it's doing in the whole image, especially right in here, pulling some of that greeny red out right there. And then I'm going to tackle his shirt right here. Kaboom. We desat it. It's looking great. Now his skin, kapow. Popping his skin back. Oh, look at that. We got a little bleed right there. Let's grab that real quick. Let's fix that. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to do the room on the right. Kaboom. So we've selected the yellowy orange. We've desatted it. We've boosted our highs. We've contrasted more over here. And that helps bring it into more alignment with this wall behind him. Lab is going to tighten up our bottom end. And yet is going to do that magic and then sharpening. So one thing I want to do before lab, I'll try one more thing. This may not really do what I want, but just for kicks. Let's see if I can grab this behind his head. Yeah, I like that. See what we did there? Just pulling that saturation back on that little bit of that yellowy kind of glow we had going. And if I wanted to, I could actually like pop it. Yeah, it looks, obviously you can't do that when you're just grabbing it as subtly as we are, but I think it works because it helps. Yeah. Off, on. I like it. It cleans up this corner a little bit. So we'll call this foreground wall. Okay, so then finally our vignette kicks in, and there we have it. I think that is a nice corporate interview. You would never know by looking at it that this room wasn't intentionally lit to match this room, and you would never know that the sun was bleeding in. So very happy about that. All right, people, that is it. Thank you for joining me. Please give us the follows and the likes and subscribes on the YouTubes, the Rumbles, the Twitters, the Instas, and the LinkedIns. And we'll see you next time on Grade N10.